Hello, I am a UK air gunner and this is the KWC P.08 Luger. This particular version is in .177, that's 4.5mm steel BB. Not airsoft, this is not the airsoft version. Now, just before we start here, I'm going to admit a couple of things. First of all, I have somewhat weathered the appearance. You can see the edges are a little bit more shiny, as if the gun has been pulled in and out of a holster over many decades. And also the grips I have replaced with real wooden grips. These are the get them right around. These are the grips that come with it. Normal plastic grips, but rather aggressive checkering on them, which wasn't particularly what I liked. I hurt my hands after a while shooting it. I couldn't quite get comfortable, so that's the other reason. But obviously I like to make my guns look as real as possible. So let's get into it then. So, full metal steel gun, the only plastic parts of course being the grips, which I've now replaced, so you can see there's no polymer on this gun, or plastic. What else? It's bolt blowback with the toggle lock system, which is awesome. It shoots at approximately 1.6 joules. The weight is 834 grams, length 220mm, and the magazine, which I shall show you, holds 21 rounds apparently, which is rather a lot. I haven't actually counted. I normally put 8 in, it just makes the CO2 last longer and it's more realistic to only have 8. So looking at the magazine then, full metal, full size dropout. BBs load from here, so you pull the spring all the way down and then start loading them. Don't try and load them from the top, that's just not a good idea. CO2, as you can see, goes in from this side. The wider side, it only goes in from one side, and tightens up using a rather large normal KWC Allen screw, which is provided. Okay, so that's the magazine, let's put that aside. So double check, gun is clear. You can see that toggle link system working now. It's a thing of beauty. And actually I really like now that I've weathered it, it kind of picks out all the edges a bit more. It looks even better, I think. Really cool. So, let's start from the back end. Okay, so you've got your safety, fairly normal here. Up and down, that's fire, that's safe. And you'll also notice that the little safety, I don't know what you call this, I don't know, thing, moves up and down. That's actually what stops the trigger from pulling, because you'll see, what are we on fire? Okay, as I start to pull the trigger, you can just probably, I hope, see this piece starting to move. So when you engage that safety, this is actually preventing this bar from moving up and down, or side to side I suppose, and that's what prevents the gun from firing, because all this along here is part of the trigger mechanism. Okay, so toggle link, which I can lock back by reaching inside here, there we go, lovely, is a thing of beauty, as I have said, full steel, and it just feels great. Admittedly, the checkering here is not particularly aggressive enough, because it can be a bit stiff pulling it back, but you know, I think it's more than adequate and looks good, so who cares. The rear sight is a fairly small notch. It's not as bad as, say, the M712, which I shall be doing a review on later. That's the broom handle. And actually, once again, now that I've weathered it and it's got that bit of silver on it, and both on the full sight as well, it makes it a little bit easier to find it when you're trying to do a bit of quick draw and pull the trigger as quick as you can. Yeah, the grips, I did find some grips. These aren't the best grips, I don't think. I think they're slightly the wrong thickness. I had a bit of trouble, and you can see there's gaps, and I don't know. Obviously you've got to slightly hollow out the inside so the CO2 can fit inside. That was a bit of an annoyance, but managed to get them just about to fit with some difficulty. They look good, they stay on, and as you can see there, I had to use a washer to actually hold this one on because it's not as thick. No, it's not as long as it should be. I didn't sand down either this end or that end, but no, whatever. Okay, so moving forwards then, done that. The mag release, which is fairly positive, very good. Trigger is the realistic, what do you call that, crescent moon trigger? I don't know, new moon trigger, which looks great, and it's got a fairly crisp, clean break. I wouldn't say it's a particularly heavy trigger either, fairly light. It's a very wide trigger. That's the first thing I noticed compared to, for example, the 1911. That's a standard thing you always compare to. It's got a very wide trigger, which in some respects is good, other respects maybe more people wouldn't like it, I don't know. And then what have we got? Trigger guard, not trigger guard, what's that called? Trigger, oh, I can't remember. But you take that off and you can get to it, that's part of the trigger mechanism, and that's how you take down, which I should show you in a minute. Barrel, mine is actually slightly loose, I don't know if it's going to move, it's not too bad actually. But it might be something you want to have a look at when you get yours, just make sure it's tight and not moving around. Overall the gun is a very tight, well-engineered gun, which I know is the same with the real P.08 Lugers. They are very high tolerance compared to the 1911, compare them again. Moving forwards, right to the front, foresight, fairly nice, easy to pick out. Yeah, I mean it's just a front post, obviously the non-adjustable sights. And mine unfortunately does shoot slightly low left, I think, yeah, low left. So it just means you've got to use, what is it they say, Kentucky windage, and aim high right. And then you can pretty much get the ball every time. The recessed barrel is fairly good, and there's a bit of, I think, yeah, just about, yeah, some fake rifling in the 9mm barrel, and then obviously down there you can see the 4.5mm 0.177 caliber brass barrel, which is a smooth bore. This is a BB gun. Right, I'm going to try and take this down. So, in order to take this gun apart, it's a little bit more involved than something like a 1911, but still fairly simple. So we need to pull back this entire barrel toggle mechanism. So if we push, I can show you here, if I push on the barrel, you can see how all of the top section moves back. So we need to hold that back, and I find the easiest way is either to push the barrel down onto something, or you can hold the toggle back like that. Then you can pull down the takedown lever and remove this, whatever it's called. I'm just going to call it a trigger plate. I don't know, can't remember what it's called. So that's the first part there. Then you can let this whole piece slide out. Lovely. Okay. Now, to take the toggle out, as you can see there, the barrel's coming back with it now, because it's actually quite a long spring in there. Which, have I got the tools? No, I haven't got the tools to take it out. Oh, yes, I can. I can use a pen. So yeah, you can see that. So that's your upper, and to get to the barrel properly, though, you need to push this pin out here, and you can see you need to push it from this side. You can see it here. Just push out the central part, like that, and then oh, it's a bit tight. Okay, there we go. So that's the pin. Okay. Then very carefully, because otherwise it'll go flying away. Whoops. Pull out the toggle, the barrel, and the spring all at the same time. Okay, and then you're left with this piece, which kind of has a tuning fork. You can feel the vibrations there. That's quite cool. Love that. Put that to one side. So there you go. One rather long spring slightly shorter spring, which I can't take off. So that is your brass in a barrel, of course. And then you've got the ramp there. So it's quite a short barrel. I can't remember how long it is, but still get fairly good accuracy. Now that thing that fell out was this pin here, which goes in there. Right. It sort of falls out. Remember to watch that. And then you can take that apart. And there you go. That's as far as I'm going to take it apart. Other people may take it further apart, but this is probably a little bit further than the field strip, but that's fairly simple. I think it gets a bit more complicated after this. So there you go. There's your CO2 valve blowback mechanism bit. That's plastic, of course, technically. So there is plastic left in this. And then you've got your extractor and things, which would be real on the real 9mm version. The toggle has got a spring in there, which is why it keeps flipping back. Yeah, it's a fairly solid piece of metal there, as it needs to be, because that's taking all the force of the blowback. And that's it. Okay. The other thing to watch is there's some washers just in here, and the same on the other side. I had one of them fall out the other day, and I wasn't quite sure where it had come from, but taking the gun apart again, I was like, oh, okay, it's from there. So just watch out. It might fall out on yours as well. Right, so now we've got to put it back together again. Okay, let's put this back together. Toggle back together with the CO2 blowback valve. And this kind of, oops, there's a bit of friction between the valve and the barrel ramp, so you can kind of hold it like that. Put the long spring back on, then you've got quite a long piece there. And then we can slide it all back into this. This has got some, oh actually before I do that, oops, I can show you this. This is quite hefty, this piece. Where's the weight's on this end? So this is part of your trigger mechanism. Following the trigger, how it all goes, is quite entertaining actually. So we'll start with this. So you can see here, when you pull the trigger, you've got this piece which moves down, right? That in turn moves this piece, this little 90-degree bend on the trigger plate, as I'm calling it now. Okay, which in turn pushes down on this bit here, which makes all this go up and down and all over the place, right? And that's where remember the safety comes up and down to prevent this bit from coming out, and that's what acts as a safety. Which then moves this piece in and out, which then, going back to the lower, moves this tiny little plate here, which releases the hammer, releasing the CO2, so on and so forth. So it's quite an involved trigger mechanism, but it works, and I haven't had any problems with it. So I imagine after a while all those pieces might start wearing down, and then you might have some problems. But I haven't heard about that. So right, let's get this thing back together. So come on, where are we? Spring back on. Make sure you get this the right way up, and then you'll find that you've got some rails along here which go along the inside. You need to lift the toggle up to get it over this lip. Whoops. Oh my god. Tight spring. Okay, there we go. And once you get it down behind there, it kind of holds itself. Just make sure it doesn't fly out, obviously. And then you need to align, make sure I do it, align all the holes through there so the pin will go through nice and easily, like that. Okay, and then it's all back together. That's it. Okay, cool. And then the other thing that I haven't heard anyone else say, so show this. When you're putting this back together, you may find it doesn't want to go, and what you're actually doing is hitting this little tiny piece here against the front of the frame, and this is part of your trigger mechanism, as you may remember, and you don't want to be hitting that or trying to force it. So all you need to do is just hold down the trigger mechanism like that, which pulls this piece inwards, and then it's out of the way of the frame when you put this back on. And as soon as it's in, you can just let go, and that's fine. And then push the whole upper section backwards as we did before. Okay, put the trigger plate back in, and it needs to go in this end first, and it kind of slots in. Okay, and push down, and then you can push the takedown lever back up, and that's it, all back together. And we'll fire off the action. There's no CO2 in this gun because I've got the magazine. There we go, nice positive click. Okay, and the other thing is, as you'll find with most handguns, I believe, the safety will not want to engage. Excuse me. Safety will not want to engage if the gun is not cocked. So you have to have it cocked in order to put it onto safety. Do not try and force it. That's just not good for the gun. Fire off that again. Okay. Cool. Right. What else? So in terms of shooting, I've told you that my particular gun shoots low left, but I don't know if that's a trending thing or if mine's just 1 out of 1,000 or quite what the deal is with that. But it's an action pistol. It's not meant to be the most accurate gun you own, or a gun I should say. Stop calling it a gun. But it's more than adequate for plinking tin cans and that sort of thing, and great fun, really good looking, really realistic. This is the closest you can get to the real P.08 Luger without spending insane amounts of money. And it's just, this toggle link system is just fascinating to watch it work. With the blowback and filming in slow motion was really awesome. And of course you may find that when it's running low on CO2, it won't cycle at one point. Most of the time it simply won't cycle. It'll cycle enough to reload the chamber. And then the next time it just won't do anything. So you just remember you might have a BB left in there after running out of CO2, but that's a usual thing. So okay, I think that's pretty much it. I'll just quickly put this back in here. Oh, hang on, safety's on. And goes in, nice positive click when it engages with the release, mag release. I've noticed you kind of got to force it in. If you've got BBs, as I have at the moment, if you have got BBs in the magazine, it doesn't go in quite as easily as it would without the BBs in. And it's just worth a bit of a thump on the bottom there just to make sure it is properly engaged. Okay, so anything else? I might as well just quickly, that's the box comes in. Fairly standard cardboard box with a nice insert. Comes with 250 BBs and the Allen wrench, which I haven't got in there at the moment. And then the manual, which is fairly standard sort of stuff. You know, I'm sure. And then there's all the, if you want to completely take it apart, which I most certainly do not, because I can't remember how many parts there are, but it's at least a couple of hundred, I've got to say. So anyway, so that is the KWC P.08 Luger 4.5mm .177 caliber steel BB version. Beautiful gun, highly realistic, and I absolutely love it. UK Air Gunner out.